Okay, Be'ezat Hashem, Na'aseh v'natzliach. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Lighthouse project, our familiar faces and new friends. Baruch Hashem. We'd like to welcome everyone also online, all the people that are watching on Facebook Live. Please share and like this class, because you don't know when a little nugget of Torah can actually change somebody's life, bring him closer to Kadosh Baruch Hu. Be a promoter for God. Be a promoter for Kadosh Baruch Hu and help another Jew get closer to the truth. Tonight's lesson is a continuation of our spiritual preparation for Pesach. Tonight we'll be discussing the Haggadah. The Haggadah revealed. Before we start on our lesson, I'd like to give an honorable mention to our class sponsors. We have our regulars, incredible human beings over here, incredible Jews, love them so much. They're part of the Issachar and Zevulun sponsorship. H&M Builders doing this in memory of their grandfather in honor of the Dornbush family. Be'ezat Hashem, may the Dornbush family have a lot of atzlacha, a lot of success in all their businesses. Bracha v'atzlacha b'choma seyedehem, as well as a great simcha upcoming in that family's wedding of Joseph Dornbush. And also may they have a great Chag Pesach and a great Chodesh Nisan. Wish you all the best. Also, to a righteous woman from the East Coast, Stacy Esther Bouton, a very good friend who's doing this in honor of her sons, Yonatan Michael, Eliyahu, and Shalom Ben Esther. Be'ezat Hashem, that you guys have an incredible Chodesh Nisan, a Chag Sameach. Be'ezat Hashem, may all the Bouton family get itchaskud gedolah from our classes, and may this have a big hashpa'ah on their hatzlacha. The last one was a surprise. I didn't expect this one. Guy Mordechai, a dear friend of mine who has been sponsoring these classes the past few months. He visited us a few weeks ago, and today his message reads, "I'm doing this in honor of my amazing brother Sharone." I love you, Guy. May Hashem keep giving you the strength to give these classes, inspire and touch people's souls as you've touched mine. Also, continue to bless him, his amazing wife and kids with health, happiness, and success in all his endeavors. V'chen lemor Guy Mordechai, Hashem varech otcha v'sameach otcha, and give you all the yeshua that you need in all the inyanim. If it's b'parnasa, if it's b'zugiyut, if it's b'ruchaniyut, b'gashmiyut, be'ezat Hashem, you have great hatzlacha in all you do. I love you, bro. And for the refuah shelema v'nacham endo sar bat Batya and Devar Fega bat Rezel. It's always a mouthful, the beginning, but very special people. I love them all. Okay, let's start. So basically, we are a few days away from Shabbat HaGadol, and about a week and a half away from Pesach. And Pesach begins with the Haggadah. And tonight, I'm not going to give a class of a how-to guide of step-by-step of Kader. Here you wash your hands, here you drink 64 grams. We're not going to do that. I'm going to give you a couple of very unique pit stops inside the Haggadah that will really allow you to tap into that night, tap into the spiritual energy that's available in that night, and also give you an idea of what the Haggadah night should feel like. What you should try to get out of it. The Haggadah is a journey in time. It's a journey into our past that must never be forgotten. It's instructed by God Himself. God instructed us to never forget Yetziat Mitzrayim. It's a story that must be told every year, and it's remembered daily. There's not a day that doesn't pass that we don't say, that we don't pray, that we don't remember Yetziat Mitzrayim. It's a mitzvah ta'aseh min Torah. It's a positive commandment to remember Yetziat Mitzrayim every day. In the most Sidurim, right after Shachrit, they have the 10 Sechirot, things that you should remember on a daily basis. One of those things, Yetziat Mitzrayim. If you ever want to pick up 10 mitzvot right away as soon as the day starts, do the 10 mitzvot aset. There's 10 things that it's a mitzvah aset to remember them. Yetziat Mitzrayim is one of them. And in the Haggadah are hidden all the keys to our lives. All our salvations, all our miracles, our personal and enlarge for our nation. It starts off very stark in the beginning. It's very dark and gloomy. We start off as slaves, but we finish off as part of the Geula of Yetziat Mitzrayim and the promise of the ultimate Geula in the time of Mashiach. The story must be passed on from generation to generation, and it's a story that maps out our past and our future at the same time. Besides going through the Haggadah and the emotions, the feelings, the storyline, and the different scenarios that we have available to us, and we're not going to get it all in tonight. I'm just going to cherry pick a few parts, but basically that's the feeling of the Haggadah if you tap into it. Tonight we'll also answer some questions like, who wrote the Haggadah?
Hi.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you. Sorry.
Who wrote the Haggadah? Who are the 4 sons of the Haggadah? And where is the 5th one? What is the most important mitzvah of the Seder night? What are 3 words that must be said on Erev Pesach? Otherwise, it's like as if you didn't do anything. You have to say 3 words. What are they? Why isn't Moshe Rabbeinu mentioned in the Haggadah? Or is he? Where is Shmuel Hanavi in the Haggadah? Where do we see Haman's children in the Haggadah? And what does the prayer of Rabbi Shimon Magid Mostropoli promise us if we say it on the night of the Haggadah? What does the Zohar say about us reciting the 42 journeys of the Jews in the desert on Erev Pesach? What does it promise us if we say that? And why do we say Shir HaShirim at the end of the Haggadah? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shel kol yodvo. Amen. Where do we see the first vehicle that's 3 horsepower in the Haggadah? Where do we see that Yetziat Mitzrayim was a U-turn in the Haggadah? A lot of questions. Tonight, we'll have those answers for you. Let's begin our spiritual preparation for Pesach, revealing the Haggadah. So let's start off from the beginning. Who wrote the Haggadah? Well, Anshe Knesset Hagdola, the members of the Great Assembly, was a group of rabbis that at one point decided that if we don't put something down on paper, if we don't start putting down prayers or certain things like the Mishnah, the Gemara, if we don't start putting things on paper, the Jewish heritage is going to disappear. So when it got to that point in history, Anshe Knesset Hagdola started to author certain books. One of them is the Sidur. Another one of them is the Haggadah. As a matter of fact, they say that Anshe Knesset Hagdola not only are the authors of the Haggadah, but specifically Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi, who happens to be also the author of the Mishnah. He lived exactly the same time that the Haggadah became part in print, and our tradition tells us, according to the Malbim, that the Haggadah was written specifically by Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi, but overall all agree that it was by the Great Assembly, Anshe Knesset HaGdola. And if you notice, if you've ever read a Haggadah, or if you ever flipped through a Haggadah, the first few pages of the Haggadah are not part of the Haggadah. The first few pages pertain to Bdikat Chametz and Biur Chametz, the checking of Chametz, and then the burning of the Chametz. So even though we come and we sit there for about a couple of hours and read from this book, the first 2 pages take us a few weeks to perform. Because it takes us several weeks to do the spring cleaning. We take out everything in the house and we wash and we clean, and different pots and different silverware and all the kosher food, kosher for Passover food, we put away, all that. It's a process. It's not something like where you just walk into a Shabbat dinner, you sit down and you read a book. There's a process before we come and start the Haggadah. So those first 2 pages actually takes us a few weeks before we can even get to that. And once we do, we check for Chametz at night, and then we burn the Chametz the following day. And Chametz has some halachic restrictions. We'll throw some halachot in there also. It's always good to know. The halakha on Chametz is lo yira'eh, lo yimatzeh, lo ya'achel, v'shelo yeh bo hana'ah. In other words, it should not be seen, it should not be owned, it should not be eaten, and you shouldn't have any benefit from it. So that is what creates the way that we behave with Chametz. What do we do with the Chametz? We take it out from every little nook and crevice that we have in the house. Anything that we can't throw out because of some sort of value that we'll need, or we don't want to be out of pocket, like a $200 bottle of whiskey, or some sort of stock pile of food that you have, we have the option of closing it up in a closet, selling the chametz, so it's no longer in our possession. It belongs to some goy out there in the world. And after Pesach, it's sold back to us, and we can use that chametz. But in that time, we can't own it, we can't see it. That's why it's covered up. We can't enjoy it, we can't eat it. We can't sell chametz. If you have a Jewish grocery, you can't be open, right? You can't sell. Let's just say you have a Jewish guy owns a bodega. He can't sell chametz. He can't sell Italian bread during that week. Asur b'hana'ah. So even though that on the surface we have this restriction on chametz, and we look for it and we clean it, and we become so stringent on get the chametz out, out of the house, out of our ownership. We don't want it in our life anymore. That's what it's on the surface. But in reality, we have to take out our spiritual chametz. Let's go beneath the surface a little bit. There's always something that we do physically, but in reality, there's also something that we're doing spiritually for our neshama. If you've listened to some previous classes, we spoke about Pesach being Chag HaAviv. What does Aviv mean? You take the word Aviv and split it into 2, and it becomes Av Yud Bet, the father of 12, the father of the 12 months. It's the head of the year. And we brought many places in the Talmud, in the Nevi'im, in the Ketuvim, in the Gemara. Masechet Rosh Hashanah talks about it, how the switching of the kings. How do you, for example, if somebody was a king, according to Masechet Rosh Hashanah, on the month of Adar, and then Nisan comes around. He's been a king for exactly a month. How many years has he been in power? 2 years. Why? Adar to Nisan is 1 year. And now from Nisan on is the 2nd year. So we know it's the head of the year. So what happens at the head of the year? Or every time that there's a head of something, like Rosh Hashanah, we want the beginning of the year to be good. So in order for the beginning of the year to be a good year, we have to get rid of all that negative spiritual chametz of the previous year. So really when we're saying take out the chametz, you actually have to sit down with yourself and say, okay, how was last year? How was it? Did I keep Shabbat good? Did I keep kosher? Did I go to shul? Did I pray? Did I dress modestly? Am I more religious this year than last year? Am I closer to God this year than last year? Sit with yourself for a moment, turn off the phone, turn off the TV, talk to yourself for a few minutes, and say, you know what? Not only did I not do that, but here's my chametz. Look what I did. How many times did that person drive on Shabbat? How many times did they go and eat in a cheese restaurant, or I only ate pasta, I only ate fish in a non-kosher restaurant? All the things. How many times did I do it? Wow, I have a lot of chametz. I don't know if this is what am I going to do? So what do? You take all your chametz and you bring it with you to Pesach, and what do? You burn it. You say, listen, okay, that's it, finish. That was last year. This year, it's all new. I want a new year. And when do you start this new year? Rosh Chodesh Nisan. But the place to really give it a turbo boost for the year is going to be on the night of the Seder, and we're going to go into it. But basically what we're trying to say over here, as you're, I give this as an exercise, but it's very interesting. Think about this. How about while you're cleaning and you're hating it, oh my God, I hate cleaning. Instead of thinking about the chametz that you're cleaning, think about your personal chametz. Think about, in January, maybe I shouldn't have gone to that club. Man, in July, maybe I should have dressed a little bit more modestly. Think about as you're cleaning the chametz, think about your spiritual chametz. And see if you can maybe find those things that you can say, you know what? Finally, I'm taking tally of myself and of my life, and I see what my negative spiritual baggage has been from the previous year. And now I'm going to get out of it. I'm going to burn this chametz. Next year, I'm going to keep Shabbat. Next year, I'm going to pray. Next year, I'm going to dress modestly. Next year, I am going to have this. So next year, my chametz, you might still have chametz, but different chametz. Not this one. This one you're going to burn this year. So as you're seeking out your negative spiritual baggage from the previous year, you want to deal with it. It's good to deal with it. You don't want to always be like with your head in the sand your whole life. Deal with it. Eradicate it. Take it out. Be real with yourself. And prepare yourself to get into a new year. In previous classes we spoke about how we behave on the month of Elul, right before Rosh Hashanah, and that's a new year. But you also have to understand that Nisan is also a beginning of a new year. Look at the way the world is behaving. All the flowers blooming. All of a sudden sunshine is coming. Winter is leaving us. Spring is here. Why? It's a beginning. It's a revitalization of the world. Everything's getting renewed. That's the same thing for us. Chodesh Nisan is the beginning of the year. Treat it like the beginning of the year. We have two beginnings of the year. Start the year right. And the way that you start something right is by highlighting what's wrong. It's easier that way. Erev Pesach, we were just talking about chametz and searching for the chametz and burning for the chametz and talking about your personal chametz. That leads us into Erev Pesach. Erev Pesach, the night of Pesach, the night of the Haggadah, the first night of the holiday, is also known as Lel Shimurim in Hebrew, which means it's a preserved night or a protective night. There's something very, very, very unique about that night. It comes around once a year. If you're smart, if you're focused, if you get plugged in, you can get a lot out of this night. Or it could just be a dinner date with family and friends. It all depends on how you're walking in. The pasuk goes, Lel shimurim hu l'Adonai l'otzi'am me'eretz Mitzrayim. Hu ha'layla hazeh l'Adonai shimurim lechol bnei Yisrael ledorotam. It says, it was a night of watching for Hashem. What's a night of watching? Hashem was looking forward to this night. It was shomer. He was keeping this night. For what? L'otzi'am me'eretz Mitzrayim. To take the Jewish people out of Mitzrayim. He was looking forward to it. Hu halayla hazeh l'Hashem. This is the night to God. Shimurim lechol bnei Yisrael. That was kept for bnei Yisrael ledorotam. Forever and ever, for all generations. Here we have another chizuk to our learning, that we always say that every time that a certain night loops around from the year, we can tap into the energy that's available to it. Here the Pasuk tells us, Le Dorotam, every generation on this night, it's Alel Shimurim. So that means, when we sit on the table, we say, okay God, it says in the Torah that every night of Erev Pesach is Leil Shimurim. So you go to think, what happened on Leil Shimurim? And I'm going to list it for you right now. If that happened then, it could happen to me now. Why? Because that's what's available on this day. So, Leil Shimurim, several reasons why this night is special. One of the reasons is, Hashem was actually looking forward. He wanted to take the Jewish people out of slavery. So he was looking forward to it. So we celebrate that Hashem wants to take us out of Mitzrayim. Keep in mind, we have our personal Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim, you could always say that Mitzrayim is your challenges, the things that you're dealing with. For example, if it's addiction, if it's financial hardships, if it's zivugim, getting married, if it's getting pregnant for people that are married, if it's shlom bayit, whatever, it's raising children, bearing children, etc., etc., etc. Whatever your Mitzrayim is, put it in a bundle and bring it with you to the Seder night and put it on the table. Why? Because it tells us that Hashem was looking forward to taking the Jews out of Mitzrayim. Hashem is looking forward to taking me out of my financial struggles. Hashem is looking forward to take me out of my hardships. Leil Shimurim, this is the night. So what do? You bring your Mitzrayim. Because Hashem wants to take you out of your Mitzrayim. So come to the table with your Mitzrayim. Because Hashem wants to get you out of it. It says Leil Shimurim. In Hebrew, grammatically means that it's in plural. Because it says Leil Shamur, singular. Why is it Leil Shimurim? Because it's mentioned in plural, means that it has this type of energy many times over and over and over and over. Many, many times it's going to be a Leil Shimurim. And it's been proven already. Many amazing things have happened on this particular night. On this particular night, you have... This is the night that all the Jewish people were redeemed. This is the night that the future redemption of the Jews will be as well. This is the night that Chizkiah, Hananiah, and Daniel Chizkiah had his own Yeshua. Hananiah had his own Yeshua. Daniel got saved from the lions. You know the story of Daniel from the lions? That happened on this night. Meaning we already see how certain Jews got out of their struggles and redemptions. Struggles and hardships. Eliyahu Navi and Mashiach on this night will become elevated in the eyes of the masses in the future to come. When Mashiach comes and Eliyahu comes to announce that it's the age of redemption, age of Geulah, on this night his name is going to become bigger. Eliyahu is going to get well known in the world. Mashiach is going to get well known in the world on this night. And this night also has a very special thing. There's no mezikin. There's no destructive angels, no menacing angels around on this night. All the troublemakers, all the angels, the bad angels that want to harm us are off that night. They're not working. They don't have the power to be menacing on that night. It's Leil Shimurim. We are protected by God. As a matter of fact, when we say Shema Yisrael at night, you have to do Shema Yisrael, and then we say a couple of additional passages that are protective of the prayer and of the neshama. In other words, after you say Shema Yisrael, there's some passages that we say to protect the prayer, and then there's additional things that we say in order to protect the neshama, because an angel takes your neshama and covers it with 6 wings. 2 on top, 2 in the middle, 2 on the bottom, and it escorts the neshama to the heavens, and it doesn't allow any menacing angel to touch it or to chop up your tefillah. On that night, we don't. We do Shema Yisrael, the whole thing over, good night. Why? No mezikin. There's no mezikin. Could you imagine? It's a very, very unique night. Now, we're so We're so confident in Hashem's protection over us that night. We have a custom also. What do? We open the door for who? Eliyahu Navi. And what do? We leave it open. Could you imagine leaving the door open? I'm going to sleep, bye, door open. Today we're scared of the lizards, the cats, maybe I don't know what type of, a lot of animals in Hollywood or in Florida in general. A little gator might come in. But in general, you leave the door open. Why? Eliyahu Navi is coming. Are we worried? Why are we worried? Let's shimurim. Nothing to worry about. There's no mezikin tonight. Look at the level of confidence. No fear. Nowadays, we open the patio door for 15 minutes for the last part of the Haggadah, and then we say, okay, Eliyahu Navi, and we close the door. But the real thing, back in the days, not too long ago, 10, 20, 30 years ago, I remember the door was open. You wake up in the morning, the door is open. Eliyahu Navi, no fear. This night's spiritual energy is very intense. It's super intense, and it cannot be felt and cannot be seen. You're not going to sit on the table and be like, "Wow, I'm flying to the ceiling. Scrape me from the ceiling. Somebody bring me down. Pull me down like a balloon." It's not going to be like that. But if you prepare for it and you know that it's there, it's completely different. You have to understand that the Jews were on the lowest level of Tum'ah. 49.99999% there. That's it. Why did they have to come out of Mitzrayim hurriedly, in a rush? No time for the bread to rise, for the dough to rise. Why do we eat matzah? Couldn't they wait till tomorrow? Couldn't they just say, okay, 9 a.m., everybody, I'll meet you by the front door? Why did they have to leave so hurriedly? Why? Because they were seconds away from going off the deep end. 50th level of Tumah, there's no coming back from that. There's no coming back from the 50th level. And they were at 49.99. I know God said, listen, I'll wait this much, but right now I have to save you from you. And they went from the 49th level of Tumah to the 50th level of Kedusha. What a 180. What a vayafochu. And that's the energy of the Seder night. You might not be able to feel it, but if you sit there and say, tonight, I'm on this spiritual elevator that takes me from floor 7 to floor 50, sit there and just, without even feeling it or knowing it, just tap into it. Because that's what it is. On the Seder night, everybody's on the 50th level of Kedusha. What you do while you're in that level is up to you. Are you going to cash in on the 50th level? Or are you going to lose it in just a split second? As soon as you get it, it gets taken away. Know that that is the spiritual energy of Leil HaSeder. Furthermore, it has the power to set the entire upcoming year in order. Hence the word Seder. What does the word Seder mean in Hebrew? Order. It could have been called anything else. Why Seder? Because the rabbis are telling us, if you do the Haggadah the right way on Leil HaSeder, you are actually mesader the whole year. You're fixing your entire year. Look at this shortcut that you're getting right now. Look at this shortcut to life. You can actually come now to the Seder with your Mitzrayim, get rid of it. A list of what the upcoming year needs to look, feel like for you. And on the Seder night, you're taking care of all of that. It's over. You deposit it to Hashem. That's it. Life is in order. Could you imagine that? We think it's so much more complicated. Look at the word, the first word. Seder. Order. Order in what? In your life. Coming up. When? Leil HaSeder. The night that you organize your life. It all depends if you know how to tap in. Put it this way. What if I told you that there's a seminar And if you go to this seminar, unbelievable, they fix your entire life. They lay out for you your entire year. Just go to this seminar, I heard about it, it's unbelievable. Would you go? Right? Oprah seminar, a little, all these motivational speakers, Tony Robbins, would you go? He fixes your life. What a seminar, would you go? You would go, right? What if I told you there's a night that they're going to put all the biggest gurus in the world in one room, and they're going to give you all the best advice and going to fix your life for the entire year? Would you go? You would. They have Oprah, that have Deepak Chopra, that have who else? I don't watch TV. Help me out. Who else? All these big Dr. Oz. I don't know. All these people that can help you out are all going to be there to help you out. They're going to fix your life for the year. Would you go? Of course. What if I tell you that there's a challenge? There's the new challenge that came out, that if you can stay focused, and if you could stay focused for 4 hours and have positive intentions during those 4 hours, it's like a challenge. If you're able to do that for 4 hours, your graduation is a perfect year. Would you do that? Right? You'd go to the gurus giving advice. You'd go to the 4-hour challenge to fix your life. You'd go to to that seminar. To all those things you'd go. But I'm telling you, you don't have to go. You don't have to do any of that. Whatever all those seminars, all those gurus, all those challenges will give you are all capsulized into one night, 4-hour period, Leil Erev Pesach. The seminar is the Seder. The gurus are the rabbis. Each one is giving you a piece of advice for life like you wouldn't believe. The challenge is 4 hours. Stay focused. Come into the Seder. I'm coming here to read, to understand, to be happy, to connect, to get rid of my mitzvah, to deposit my personal prayer, to drink the proper wine, to drink the proper food, to say divrei Torah, to say chidushim, to say Birkat Hamazon, to sing Echad Mi Yodea, to say Shir HaShirim. Then what do? You drop the mic, I'm out. Go to sleep. Do a little perfect little kosher holy bundle of a night, send it to God and go to sleep. This guy wants to talk about the Heat game. I can't, not tonight. This guy wants to talk to you about Bitcoin. I can't. Bitachon tonight. I can't. Something different. I can't. This one wants to talk about, you saw what she's wearing, you saw what he's wearing, you remember what he did last year? Not tonight. Push everybody off. Be an example, or even just for yourself. And all of a sudden, your entire year, from this 4-hour period, thank you, rabbis, I'll take that shortcut. All those seminars are expensive. All those gurus need to get paid top dollars.
Well, Pesach is expensive too.
Baruch Hashem, but you get everything you spend on Pesach, you get back. Because the rabbis tell us, Mi Tishrei, A Tishrei, Chutz Mi Tishrei. Which means, all your money is already accounted for. From the month of Tishrei to the following Tishrei, if you're supposed to make 100,000, it's 100,000. $1 million, $1 million. Chutz, except for Tishrei. What's Tishrei? Torah, Shabbat, Rosh Chodesh, Yom Tov. Anything that has to do with Torah, anything that has to do with Shabbat, anything that has to be Rosh Chodesh, anything that has to do with Yom Tov, any money you spend on that comes right back to you. So if you're supposed to make 100,000 and you spent another 35,000 with all the Jewish holidays and all the special yarmulkes you bought and all the suits that you got for the Chag, you're going to make 135 that year. If it's $1 million, it's $1,000,001. Everyone according to their level. So whatever you spend on the holiday, it's coming back. That's one guaranteed bet. That's why when it comes to the Chagim, I get the best. You know why? Because it's coming back. Coming back. Never get cheap on the holidays. So, it's a 4-hour event that sets the precedent to 365 days. What do they call that in...
Good value.
It's a good sale, it's a good value, it's a good bang for your buck. what do they call that in the finance world? Good dividends. Good return on investments. There it is. Thank you, Stefan. Now, it has a collection of the perfect advice of all our sages in the past history. If you open up the Haggadah, each section talks about something different. And each section, if you look into it, is smarts for life. If you're a Jew, listen to this, read this, internalize it. This is how it was in the past, this is how it is in the present, this is how it's going to be in the future. It's not a fairy tale. Oh, look what happened 2,000 years ago. You read it and you say, look what's happening to me today. And look how they got out of it then, I can get out of it myself now. And it tells you how it's going to be in the future. You have to read it differently. And if you're reading it for the first time on the Seder night, you're losing out a little bit. You're losing out a little bit. It's such a big holiday. Try to take the Seder, the Haggadah, and read it. You have a week to go. Each night, a page, 2 pages in English. Take a class. Write out what you don't. The story comes alive. And I'm going to give you a couple of stories that when you get to the Haggadah, it's going to come alive for you. You have to open it up. It can't just be Hebrew words on a piece of paper. What's the story behind it? Who wrote it? Who said it? Why did he say it? What's the scenario? When did it happen? Try to get it. These are all real events. These are all good advice. But if you don't have the background to it, it's stale. But if you find a way to make it alive, you start to feel it. So in the Haggadah, you're flying. It's like when you prepare yourself for something, it's completely different from when you just walk in. And challenge yourself. Challenge yourself to be in the zone. It's 4 hours. Hand in this MVP performance of the Seder night. Hand it in. Let that whole night of the Haggadah go up to the Shamayim and let the angels say, whoa, look at his Seder night. Let Hashem to review all the Seder nights of all the people and stop by yours and be like, really? Nice. Good job. And he'll be a champion for the upcoming year. Why? Because of your performance on the beginning of the year. This guy's serious. This guy wants a good year. Let's do it. This is the beginning of the year. How do you know how the rest of the year is going to be? It all depends on the beginning. Rosh Hashanah. It's the head of the year. This is also Rosh Hashanah. The goal of the Seder night is 1, to be prepared. 2, to be focused. It's going to be a lot of people that are going to take you out of your focus. A lot. Might be your wife, might be your girlfriend, might be your sister, brother, kids, guests. They're everywhere. If you're on the table with like-minded people, that everybody's there for the same outcome, great. If not, it's going to be kind of challenging. So what do you want to do? You want to be prepared. Sometimes you have to give a disclaimer. Guys, I'm going through something. This year, I want to have like this spiritual moment with myself. So I'm probably not going to talk nonsense. I'm not going to talk about other people. I'm going to be happy. I'm not going to get angry. Nothing's going to bother me. I'm going to read the Haggadah. I'm going to eat the proper measurements of matzah and drink the proper measurements of wine. I'm also going to sing very loud. I'm also going to be extremely happy. And when I'm done, I'm just going to get up and leave. So I'm just letting you know, that's how I'm going to do it. Anyone who's on board, cool. Anyone who's not on board, please don't get in the way. Just like a disclaimer. So they could either, if they want to ruin it for themselves, fine, but at least they don't ruin it for you. Because you did the work. You came on a Wednesday night to the Lighthouse and you want to learn about the Haggadah, right? And you want to perform it. You don't want to just walk out of here and say wow, interesting class, Sharone, thank you. Thumbs up on Facebook. You want to really live it, right? So be focused. Recite the Haggadah. There's magic in the words. Eat the appropriate foods, meaning the matzah and the specific measurements and the specific measurement of wine. You should know how much is a shiur kebetzah, how much is a shiur of wine. Get to know those things. Educate yourself. Sometimes you walk into somebody's house and they're not educated themselves, and you guys not really performing the Haggadah. Believe me, there's tons of classes online that you can just watch a video, mock seders that people are doing, some shuls are doing it. Do it, it's good for you, you should know. The Rambam says, "Kedai shikanes achilat matzah bete'ava." It's good that on the night of the seder, don't eat so much in the afternoon. Maybe even have a light breakfast, so when you come into the seder, you're hungry. So when you're eating the matzah, you're really enjoying it. It's not a dry cracker, it's magic food. Later on, we'll talk about the greatness of matzah. Don't be like a crybaby, it's dry, I don't like it, my stomach ache, give me a drink. It's not that. If you know the power of the matzah, you have no idea. Eat it like it's got all the medication in the world in it, like it's got all the parnasah in it, like it's got all the flavors in the world in it. Don't insult the matzah. The matzah goes up a notch on Pesach. During the year we would say Borei Mina Mezonot on it. What do we say on Pesach? HaMotzi Lechem Min Haaretz. You know what it is? The bracha of Motzi Lechem Min Haaretz. It's like one of the biggest brachot that a food can get. It goes... Yes, it gets downgraded after Pesach. During Pesach, it gets elevated to Hamotzi. After that, the bread goes back into its position of king of the foods, and matzah becomes a cracker from Passover. Okay. Another goal of the Haggadah is to retell the story of the Exodus. It's a big part of it to tell the story of the Exodus, mostly to children. Find a kid. You go to the Haggadah, don't look for adults, look for kids. And tell them, you come to me in the middle of the Haggadah and I'm going to tell you a story. And you should have an age-appropriate chidush or a story. If it's for a 2-year-old, if it's for a 5-year-old, if it's for a 7-year-old, if it's for a teenager, and even for adults. And while everybody's talking about how delicious the salad is and last night's Heat game, you look for that kid at 5 years old and tell him, what was Paro doing? What did he tell Moshe? Let my people go. And they're going to laugh with you. And then you go to the high school kid, tell him, how many times did Moshe Rabbeinu go to use the mateh? Give him some quiz questions that he might not have. Prepare yourself like a list of 5-6 questions and go around, because the mitzvah of the night is to tell the kids the story. And once they tire down and that's it, they're by the couch and they fall sleeping, find an adult and have a high level chidush. Something from the past few Parashat HaShavua that we've just had. We've just finished Sefer Shemot. The entire Exodus is there. You should be fully loaded with chidushim from Parashat HaShavua. That's what you do in between instead of idle chatter. Prepare a personal prayer. This is a huge night. Write on a piece of paper so you don't forget. Write. Hashem, I'm having hardships with this. Please help me find my mate. Please help me be financially sound. Please, I want to be healthy with this. I want to get better with that. Pray for other people. Pray for your family. Pray for friends. Pray for the Jewish nation. Pray for Mashiach. Pray for Hashem. Pray. While everybody's going around, you be that weird guy with the piece of paper in your hand. What are you doing? I'm talking to Hashem. Yeah, what are you asking for? I'm asking for you. I'm praying for you. And I'm praying for her. And I'm praying for the whole Am Yisrael. Why? Because it's a great night to get out of Mitzrayim. This is the night that Hashem is excited to get us. He wants to get us out quickly out of Mitzrayim. So I brought my Mitzrayim with me to the table. And here's my list. Oh, interesting. Maybe I'll do it next year. Or maybe no, do it now. Think about it. What do you want to get out of? Pray to Hashem. Bring a personal prayer with you to the table. After you finish eating, there's a big yetzer hara not to finish the Haggadah. Everybody wants to go to the couch, open up the belt, call me when it's the 4th cup, then you fall asleep, then the next day you tell the story how you didn't finish it. Try not to do that. Try to stay focused. Remember, focus. When you feel like that laziness bug or that sleepy bug, move things along. Okay, guys, come on, let's continue. Right? Do the Haggadah, do the singing. There's another half hour, 45 minutes, sometimes even an hour, depends on which household you come from. And you want to finish the Haggadah, and when it's finished, wrap it up, put it in a bow, give it to an angel, send it up, and tell them, okay guys, good night, Laila Tov, go to sleep. Because after the Haggadah, that's it. When the business of the Haggadah is over, put spirituality on the side. Okay, for anyone who wants to do that, but in reality, what do we want to do? We want to take care of it. And most people stay up all night. Anyone who continues to talk about the Exodus, it's exalted. It's something on a very high level. If you're around those people that all night are going to talk about that, stay up till 5, 6 in the morning. Don't stop talking about Yetziat Mitzrayim. But if it's not going to be that, excuse yourself and make sure that you send up a perfect Seder night. Being in that frame of mind, accepting that challenge can secure a great upcoming year. But if you come to the Seder night with politics, with sports, with family issues, with outstanding beefs with your brother-in-law, sister-in-law, you're going to miss out on that unique opportunity. Don't forget the power of Erev Pesach and Leil Shimurim. It's a very special night. On this particular night, we have a custom to say a prayer of Rabbi Shimon Magid Mastropoli. Certain Sidurim have it, certain Haggadot have it. A good Haggadah, not the one that they give out in Publix for free from Maxwell House for buying a box of matzahs. Talking about,
That's not a good Haggadah?
come on. We all pick them up anyways. I know, but I'm just saying, if you spend a little bit more, $5, $10, go pick up a proper Haggadah, you won't believe what you'll find in there. And if you pick up a proper Haggadah, right in the front, you're going to find that there's a beautiful tefillah that has a unique spiritual power. It's an auspicious time to say it on Erev Pesach, and it says over there that anyone who reads this particular prayer, what is promised to him? He said that the promise is that he'll be saved from all obstacles. He'll be saved from a strange death. No man will rule over him. All his enemies will fall before him. He will be elevated on the world stages. He will be successful in all his endeavors and will be financially successful as well. Who wants all that? The rabbis tell us, say this prayer on Erev Pesach. The Zohar tells us that you should say the Membet Masaot, the 42 journeys of the Jews in the desert. And by the way, if you pick up a Sidur that's just for Pesach, it has this in it. But certain Haggadot have it as well. So the Zohar says that anyone who says the 42 journeys of the Jews in the desert on that night will be saved from bad events. From very bad diseases. It says it helps you in all that you do. Because we all have our personal journeys. You should try to say that. Find 5 minutes or 7 minutes before Erev Pesach and say those prayers. After shul. After shul, right after Arvit. While everybody's talking, maybe you take a few minutes to say that. Or while everybody's starting to get ready for the Seder, find yourself with that little prayer. It doesn't take a long time to say and has a lot of power. And as the Haggadah begins, it's good that there's a leader over there. If it's not you, make sure you're going to a place where there's going to be a good leader, not a clown, that instructs everyone the proper thing to do at the proper time and knows what's the proper measurements of matzah, the proper amount of wine that's to be drunk on that night, and as well as to set the mood for the table. A good leader of the table is the whole Seder. You have somebody that's properly leading the Seder night, it'll be unbelievable feeling and unbelievable Kedusha to set the mood. However, anyone who doesn't do that, and it just becomes like a free-for-all or like a joking night, you're going to miss out on that. And anyone who wants to connect on that particular holiday and has that for a leader, you you lose the feeling a little bit. So try to find a good leader for that night as well. You know, the Seder night, it's a table of kings. We're all kings. As a matter of fact, there's a halakha that we pour wine for each other. I'll pour for you, and you pour for me. You know why? Because I'm a king. You're going to serve me, but you're a king also. I'm going to serve you. And you get the person to your left and to your right, and we serve each other all night. We fill each other's cup. We don't fill up our own cups. And we lean to the left like kings. Right? Back in the days, they didn't even have tables. They would really be on the floor with hundreds of pillows, and they'd eat with the plate over here. You know, like on that night, we actually have to feel that way and act that way. And there's some key parts in the Haggadah that we can get some great life lessons from. First and foremost, I'll repeat it again, get the kids involved. One of the most important things of Pesach is to get the kids involved. You need to pass the story on to them. The Pasuk says, "Ve'igata lebincha b'ayom hahu le'emor, ba'avur ze asa li b'tzetim mitzrayim." He says, and you should tell your sons on that day that Hashem did this for me when I came out of Mitzrayim. So the Pasuk says, "Ve'igata lebincha," and you told your son or you told your children. So understand that each holiday, each day has a certain thing that we focus in on. Pesach, ve'igata lebincha. You know what? For those of you that have children, especially the younger ones, it's not about just finding him on the Seder night and asking him to sit down and listen to your story. As soon as Adar finishes and Nisan starts, then you start with the singing. Echad mi yodea, echad ani yodea, in the car, in the house, in the morning. You know, get them excited. Ma nishtana halayla. You know, you want to hear these songs in your house. Let the kids sing them. Let them know. So like that, when they come to the Seder table, they're also excited. They're also prepared. You know, before we start any Haggadah, we say Kadesh Uchatz Karpas Yachatz. We have the 15 steps that we do in the Haggadah. Get them involved. Let them know. So like that, when there's times that you can insert their input into the Haggadah, they become involved, and it doesn't become like the adult table and the kids table. The kids are very, very important on this holiday. Try to give it attention. And try to entice them that anybody who finds that Fikoman will get a huge prize from Toys R Us. They're going out of business, 50% off everything. You can get them tons of stuff right now. Or tell them you're going to get the biggest candy, the biggest lollipop you've ever seen in your life if you say Manishtana correctly. Entice them, get them involved. This holiday is about them.
Right.
If you have to, if you have to, I do. I buy my kids. As long as it gets them to where they need to be, eventually you can eliminate the candy and the Torah stays and the learning stays. Just to motivate them. Speaking of children, the Haggadah speaks of 4 children. This is, I'm not going to give you too much, just a couple of insights about the Haggadah, just to show you how you can open up a concept, how it's completely different than just reading it for 30 seconds and moving on. The Haggadah speaks of 4 children. The Chacham, the Rasha, the Tam, V'sheno da lishol. Chacham is the smart one, the tzaddik. The Rasha is the wicked one. Tam, he's just innocent, naive. V'sheno da lishol, he doesn't know how to ask. Okay. And we have a different approach to each one of these children. The Haggadah tells us for the Chacham, start teaching him Hilchot Pesach. The Rasha, you have to, there's a different approach to each one. And without going too much into the text, because I don't want to explain the Haggadah, I'm sure you could do that on your own. Here's some interesting concepts about the Chacham, the Rasha, the Tam, V'sheno da lishol. They say that there's 4 types of characters in the world. In the world, you'll find that there's good people, wicked people, ones that don't care much about anything, they're just tam. V'sheno derishal, dumb. Just people that just don't get it. And if you think about it, those are like 4 levels of people that you might bump into on a day-to-day basis. But over here, they're talking about children. A smart child. A child that's a little bit hyperactive, let's call it. Tam, he's just naive. Shenoidu alishol, you have to teach him a little bit. He just doesn't know how to ask. And over here we see that the Haggadah is teaching us that parenting is a very interesting thing, and it's a very important thing. You have to treat each kid as an individual. You might have one kid that's smart. You won't have one kid that's naive. You might have one kid that's actually challenged. You might even have a bad boy. But each one you have to know how to deal with individually. As a matter of fact, we get that from the language. It says, Keneged arba'a banim dibra Torah. The Torah speaks about 4 children, boys. Echad chacham, echad rasha, echad tam, ve'echad she'eno yoda lishol. The question is, if there's 4, why don't you tell me that the first one is, the second one is, the third one is, the fourth one is? Why are you telling me one is smart, one is wicked, one is naive, why does it say echad and doesn't number them? We know how to count. We can do 1, 2, 3, 4. Why did they say that it's echad? To teach us that each one is an individual. Each one is separate. There's no broad stroke to all your children. There's no broad stroke to how each child is going to be. Each one is unique. Each one is echad. Furthermore, what do we know that is echad? What's the one thing that we always say is one? Hashem is one. That's right. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem echad. God is one. Where do we all come from? We all come from God. As a matter of fact, we know that we have that godly spark inside of us. That's our neshama, that's our soul. God is inside of us. So, echad chacham. Don't forget, God is inside that chacham. Echad rasha. Don't forget, God is inside that rasha. Echad tam. Don't forget, God is inside that naive one. Don't forget that there's always echad, there's always God inside all of us. And that means no matter who they are, learn to love them, but because inside is their godly spark as well. Rav Ovadia Yosef, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, Zichrono Livracha, Rav Ovadia Yosef had a beautiful chidush about the 4 sons. He says, the story of the Haggadah of Echad Chacham, Echad Rasha, Echad Tam, Ve'sheno yoda lishol, he says it's the history of the Jews of the past century. He says, who's the Chacham? He says the Chacham was the grandfather. That's the grandfather that came from Morocco, from Syria, from Egypt. When he came to Israel, they were righteous. They were tzaddikim. They had incredible emunah, incredible faith. The next generation, their children, the next offspring, their child, they became Reshaim. The people that moved to Israel in the 40s, and the 50s, and the 60s, they were religious. Their children, what did they do? The first thing they do, they took off their kippah, they started going out to nightclubs, started visiting all the beaches, no keeping Shabbat. Everything was like, it was like the 60s culture. They had Rashaim. That Rasha also had a child. What happened to that child? He's looking at his father, Rasha. He's looking at his grandfather, Tzaddik. What happens? Tom, you become naive. I don't know what to think. Confused. Now, the tzaddik, the grandfather, dies. He's already 70, 80, 90, 100 years old. He's gone. The Tam, the naive guy, had a boy. So he looks now, he sees his grandfather is a Rasha. His father doesn't do anything. He doesn't even know what to ask. That's our history. Rav Ovadia Yosef said, look at this. Look what's going on. We have to be very careful with our children. Very, very careful. You know, we spoke about the four banim of the Haggadah, but there's also a fifth son. The fifth son, that's the son that doesn't even show up to the Seder night. That's the guy that he's not even there. He's completely off the derech. What do we do with him? Know that, in a few weeks, everyone's going to be in a Seder night, and there's going to be one guy at home watching TV. Doesn't want to be part of it. There's going to be one guy in a bar, sitting home, drinking beer, not wanting to be part of it. Why? Come on. I'm not going to eat crackers tonight. Yeah, my name is Rosenberg, but I don't keep. Could you imagine? That's the fifth son. And I want you to know there's a lot of those fifth sons in this world right now, in America, in Europe, all around the world. And who's to blame? Who's to blame? I want to, say the politically correct thing, but the truth is, it's the parents' fault. It's the parents' fault. If you have a fifth son that's not sitting on the table, the upbringing was wrong. You didn't do it the right way. You should have been a little bit stricter, not so cool, not so carefree. Because if your son is not sitting on the Haggadah table, eating matzah, drinking cup, and connecting to Erev Pesach, and he's missing the boat, he's not even there, you did a bad job. But what's our job? Is to make sure that fifth son comes back to the table the following year and becomes Shenoi Dali Shol. I'll take him as that guy. I'll take him even as a tam. I'll take him even as a rasha. Just come to the table. The kedusha of the night, the environment, maybe we'll turn him around. And if we know other people that are just not there, it's our job to bring him closer. That they make sure that this year they're not the fifth son. At least they'll be the fourth or the third. And then maybe in a few years they'll be the chacham, the tzaddik. Don't forget about that fifth son that the Haggadah doesn't talk about. This, I could continue to another point, but I want to say one more thing about this. As a matter of fact, the reason why the halacha is that they say that when a person gets to the Seder and says "Man ishtana halayla hazeh," and it talks about the four sons, the halacha is that that your son needs to ask you those questions, and if not, your wife needs to ask you those questions. And if you don't have a wife, then your friend must ask you those questions. And if you don't have any of those, you have to ask yourself those questions. So the question is why? Why do I have to have my son ask me those questions in the Haggadah? Why, if a person doesn't have a son, then he has to have his wife ask? And if not, he has to find a friend. And if not, he's required to ask himself those questions. Why? Because the truth is that we all have these characteristics inside of us. We all have a little bit of a rasha inside. We all have a little bit of a tam inside. We all have the one Shenoi Dali Shol. We all have these types of characteristics inside of us. Sometimes more, sometimes less, but they're inside of us. So when we read that, it's actually to ask us, it's like, where am I rasha in my life? Where am I naive in my life? How come I'm not asking questions about this in my life? It's actually to wake up inside of you these four different characteristics that you have, in order for you to awaken and to do what? To take out the rasha, to take out the tam, to take out Shenoi Dali Shol, and start the new year as what? As a chacham, as a tzaddik. You can see that we can say it for 30 seconds and move on, but there's so much more over here. There's so much more over here. Just one part. We spoke about having chidushim for the table. What's the chidushim? The whole thing is to speak of the Exodus. You want to keep it interesting. You want to keep people engaged. Like, for example, it says that Paro, when he went to chase the Jewish people, when they were standing in front of the Yam Suf, he did something unique. that's never been done before. It says, as Yashir says, Paro v'shalishav, here, Barkevot Paro v'chelo era bayam, u'mivchar shalishav tube'u be'yam suf. He says that he did something very unique. He went with 600 people, 600 soldiers, and he put all his jewels, all the gold, all the diamonds that he had on top of the chariots, and he told all of them to motivate them. He says, because people didn't want to do it, they said, listen, we just went through 10 plagues, you want me to go chase the Jewish God and his nation? He says, oh, you know what, if you win, I'm going to split all my treasures with you. As a matter of fact, here's an upfront payment. He took all the gold, put it on the chariot, and they were riding with jewels and diamonds. That's why all the Jewish people got bizat hayam. They said that they got richer on the jewels and money that they got from the ocean than they got in Egypt. Where did that money come from? The Egyptian soldiers brought it with them when they were riding. But what was unique is that it was the first time that we see 3 horsepower come into play. Because it's the first time that Paro put 3 horses in front of the chariot. That was never before. We have now 400 horsepower, 250 horsepower. The first one of 3 horsepower is Paro. So you want to have some chidushim for the table. So let me give you a chidush. Give you a couple of chidushim. There's a story of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. It says over there, Hare ani keben 70 shana. He says, here I am today, as if like I'm 70 years old. And I never merited that we would speak of the Exodus all night. And then it goes on and on and on and on and on. So let me tell you a story about Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Who is he? And why does it say I'm like 70 years? So Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah was an 18-year-old that got chosen to replace a huge rabbi, Rabban Gamliel. Rabban Gamliel was one of the biggest Tanaic rabbis from the time of the Mishnah and the Gemara. And he was being replaced in position. So you could imagine this holy rabbi with a turban and a long white beard and thousands of students, angelic, and who knows what power he had. And you say, who's going to replace him? You see a little skinny, scrawny 18-year-old. That was Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. So many people could replace him. There were many other big rabbis, older rabbis, respectable rabbis. Why would they choose him? So the truth was, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah was on a very high level, but because he looked very young, he went to his wife and she told him, yeah, you look too young, what are you going to do? They were very concerned about the way that he looked and how it would be looked disrespectful for him to take over this position of Rabban Gamliel. So he goes to sleep and he wakes up. And he wakes up in the morning and his beard is white. And he says, Hare ani keben 70 shana. I look like I'm 70, but I'm not. I'm 18. That's the pshat. That's the ground level, the simple level of the story. The deeper story is that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah at 18 years old, he was actually the reincarnation. He was the Gilgul of Shmuel HaNavi. Samuel the prophet died at the age of 52. And Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah is 18. How much is 52 and 18? 70. So he says, Hare ani keben 70 shana. If you take my previous life, 52, and this life, 18, combined I have 70 years in me, and I have never merited to hear Yetziat Mitzrayim all night long, stories and stories and stories. The story over here is that he's saying, this is something very unique. The story here is one, he was 18 and his beard turned white and he looked like a 70-year-old. And then the deeper meaning is that combined, his previous life and his current life, he never merited to have the story of the Yetziat Mitzrayim to be told all night. Small little snippet, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Furthermore, it says over here, It says, it actually starts, Maaseh Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yoshua, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Trifon, Sheyu Mesubim B'Bnei Brak. Imagine a table filled with huge rabbis. V'ayu Mesaprim B'Tziat Mitzrayim Kol Ota Halayla. And they were, I'm sorry, V'yishayu Mesubim B'Bnei Brak. They were sitting in Bnei Brak, which is a place in Israel. V'ayu Mesaprim B'Tziat Mitzrayim Kol Ota Halayla. They were talking about the story of the Exodus all night. So listen to this. Shayu Mesubim B'Bnei Brak. Why do we need to know where they're sitting? Why do we need to know that they're sitting in Bnei Brak? And the answer is because the Gemara tells us that Haman Harasha, he had a lot of kids actually. Only 10 got hung up, but he had 30 boys. Some of his children, Hazru B'Tshuva, they repented and they became Jewish, they converted. And not only did they converted, they became big rabbis. And those big rabbis, they stayed up on this night and they spoke of the Exodus, meaning speaking highly of Hashem and His miracles. Why would Haman's children sit up on the night of Pesach and speak highly of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? To do the tikkun on what their grandfather did exactly on that night. If you remember, Haman wanted to destroy all the Jews on the 13th of Adar, right? When did he decree that? Erev Pesach. The day that he said, all the Jews are going to die in one day, was on the 14th of Nisan.
So it was like 11 months earlier.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So his children stayed up on that night and spoke the greatness of Hashem to cancel out their wicked grandfather's words. That's just one part I just told you. That's just Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah's story. I'll give you one more. We say this every day in Vayosha Hashem, in Az Yashir Moshe, the story of the Exodus of Moshe leading Bnei Israel through the splitting of the sea and to the other side. So every day and every Shabbat, every day we say this basically. And I'm going to open up 3 pesukim for you, like you've never heard this before. Vayosha Hashem bayom hahu et Yisrael Mitzrayim. And Hashem redeemed the Jewish people on that day from the hands of Mitzrayim. So we have to understand that what's that day? Pesach. On that day. That means that Hashem has the power to save us of Mitzrayim that day. Vayar Yisrael et Mitzrayim met al sefat hayam. And the Jewish people saw the Egyptians dead on the seashore. I'll stop there. Why would the Jewish people see the Egyptians on the seashore? Aren't they supposed to be drowned in the deep, deep ocean? Right? The water covered them. Now they're drowning. What are they doing on the seashore? How did they get there? Are they in the water or are they on the seashore? They say that the Jewish people would go by and be like, oh, that's the guy that used to hit me. Oh, that's that evil Egyptian. They saw. So, let me explain to you. Here's the scenario. The Jewish people are standing in front of an ocean. The Egyptians are starting to come. Hashem, by the hands of Moshe, splits the ocean and they start to walk in. Where are they going? Where are they going? To China? Where are they going? It's a big ocean. How much are they going to walk? The truth is that it wasn't from point A to point B. It wasn't a straight line. Because if you do a straight line from there, they'd have to walk thousands of miles to reach land. What really happened over there is they U-turned. It was like a rainbow. Hashem opened up the ocean so they could walk through and come out from this side. So they could walk a short distance, and so like that. So when the Egyptians come into the water, then the water just closes in on them like a trap. So as this is happening, and they see that the Egyptians started getting into the water, so they lost a little bit of faith. And they said, if we came out of the water, they're going to come out of the water. And they were scared. So the ocean, on the bottom of the ocean, has now 600 Egyptian shoulders. Right? That's a lot of food for a lot of fish. What happened? God comes and starts to have a conversation with the ocean. He says, I'd like for you to spit up the Egyptians so my nation, my Jewish people, can see that they are dead. The ocean says, well, that's my food. That's the food that for my fish. I had a deal from the time of Bereshit that I'll go against my nature and I'll split the ocean for your children to go through it. But our deal wasn't for me to give back those 600 soldiers. So Hashem said, I'll make with you a deal. Give me these 600 soldiers now, and I will repay you at a later date. So, the ocean obliged, and it started to pop out the Egyptians like popcorn from the ocean on the seashore, so the Jews can see the Egyptians, and they can say, yes, the Egyptians are dead. Vayar Yisrael et Mitzrayim met al sefat hayam. By the way, the story that I told you is in Parashat Beshalach. If you look at the Haftarah of Parashat Beshalach, what does the Haftarah talk about? It talks about the war of Sisra. And over there, Sisra's soldiers also get drowned in the ocean. How many? 900. Hashem paid him time and a half. 1.5 he paid him. The repayment of the 600 that they spit out in Yetziat Mitzrayim, they got back in the time of Sisra. Instead of 600, 900. That's why that's the Haftarah of Parashat Beshalach, by the way. That's the secret over there. Sisra, he was a Philistine warrior. And he was in a war, and he lost 900 of his soldiers in one battle, and they went into a body of water, and that was the repayment for that. So we see, Vayar Yisrael et Mitzrayim met al sefat hayam. Next pasuk. Vayar Yisrael et hayad hagedola asher asa Adonai b'Mitzrayim v'yiru am et Adonai v'aminu b'Adonai Moshe avdo. He says, Vayar Yisrael et hayad hagedola. He says, and Israel, the nation of Israel, saw hayad hagedola, the big hand. Who can tell me where in the Torah do we have a big hand? Go back. Who had a hand that stretched out very, very far?
To get Moses from...
You got it. What's her name?
Was Pharaoh's daughter.
Pharaoh's daughter, her name was Batya. Batya was standing right here. She sees Moshe 40 yards away. And she goes like this to reach. How can she reach? It's 40 meters away. So Hashem made a miracle because he saw that Pharaoh's daughter wants to save a Jewish kid where there's a decree to kill all the Jewish kids. Rashi tells us her hand stretched out 40 yards away and brought Moshe back. Now, if it wasn't for Batya, if it wasn't for her bringing Moshe, then we wouldn't have Moshe the leader. We wouldn't have this Geulah. We wouldn't have the splitting of the sea. So Vayar Yisrael et hayad hagedola, we see the result of that long outstretched hand. And how it got us now to the splitting of the sea. Here's another 2 pesukim. Look at these beautiful stories you can bring on the table. Speaking of Yetziat Mitzrayim. Very, very unique time to bring out all these special chidushim and midrashim about the Exodus. I just want you to know that I can go on and on and on and on about Yetziat Mitzrayim. But I won't. But I'm just trying to show you that there's a lot that you can say. You can be busy all night with these midrashim. You pick up Me'am Loez, it's like a commentary on the Torah. Beautiful stories over there. There's even printable sheets of chidushim you can say it on the table. Come equipped. These are stories that everybody wants to hear. It's not so flat, our Torah. It's beautiful. The rabbis really open it up for us. You know, they say that there's a big mitzvah to learn halachot about Pesach. 30 days before Pesach, you learn some halachot. In order for us to be performing this mitzvah together tonight, I'm going to tell you a few of halachot from Rambam. The Rambam says, מצוות עשה של התורה לספר בניסים ונפלאות שנעשו לאבותינו במצרים בליל ה-15 בניסן. It's a מצוות עשה, it's a positive commandment to speak of the wonders and of the miracles that Hashem did for us during Mitzrayim. I just told you a few. Repeat them. It's a mitzvah. מצווה להודיע לבנים ואפילו לא שאלו והגעת לבניך. Don't forget about the children. Even if they don't ask you a question, you reach out to them. Hey kid, come over here. I got something to tell you. Did you hear this about Paro? Did you hear this about Moshe? How Moshe's staff, the splitting of the sea. You know, the splitting of the sea, there's many things that you can tell the kids about. It was 12 lanes. The floor was completely dry. They could see big fish on the side. They could drink fresh water. HaKadosh Baruch Hu put trees over there. You could take actual real fruit so they could have something to eat on the way. So many things. So many things. We don't have much time to say everything. I'm just going to conclude. But a big part of Pesach is Hakarat HaTov. We talk over there. This is the last thing, and I really want to leave you guys with this. Vehi Sha'amda. It says, Vehi Sha'amda Lavotenu Velanu. I feel like singing it. Shelo Echad Bilvad Amad Alenu Lechalotenu. He says, Vehi Sha'amda Lavotenu Velanu. There's always going to be one thing that's going to stand for us, like it stood for our forefathers. Shelo Echad Bilvad Amad Alenu Lechalotenu. It wasn't just like one person in history that stood up and wanted to destroy the Jewish people. Ela, rather, Shebechol dor vador, every single generation, omdim alenu lechalotenu. Every single generation, we're going to have someone who wants to destroy the Jewish nation. There's a disclaimer. If you're Jewish, every single generation, there's going to be Ahmadinejad, there's going to be ISIS, there's going to be terrorists, PLO. There's always going to be somebody that doesn't like the Jew. Always. There's going to be a Haman, there's going to be a Hitler, every generation. Get used to it. If you're a Jew, there's always going to be like an arch nemesis around. Always. But, V'akadosh Baruch Hu matzilenu mi'adam. God always saves us from them. Always. And then it begins, that Tzerumah tells the story of the Lavan Arami, of how he was the original Hitler, how he wanted to destroy us completely. And over here, what we need to head, this is the part of the Haggadah that you have Hakarat HaTov, that you are thankful and grateful to God, to the fact that you are here. You made it. Look at you, 5,778. You're the last Jew in the link of Jews from your heritage, from your people, from Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, all the generations and that. You made it. You're another link, and your children are going to be another link in the chain. You made it. How many people wanted to destroy it, and we're still here, and you're a testament to it. So you say, Hashem, thank you. Thank you that I was born Jewish. Thank you that you saved me all the way to this day and age. Thank you that I have a Jewish neshama. Thank you that I have a kippah on my head. Thank you that I'm keeping the Pesach. Thank you that I'm doing the Haggadah. Thank you that you're protecting me. Thank you that you're always going to get me out of trouble. Thank you that you're going to get me out of my mitzvah. Be thankful. Say ulmad, go learn. Every generation there's going to be someone that's going to get you. Because there's always one that's always going to try to get you. And who's that? The devil himself, the Yetzer Hara. That's the guy that wakes up every morning and tries to make you fail. But who's going to save you from him? God. He gave you the instruction manual on how to succeed in this world. I said it in the last class. What's a Bible? What's the Torah? Bible is basic instructions before leaving earth. Hashem gave you the manual. Read it, you'll be successful. We have one last thing. I think I'm going overtime over here, but in conclusion, I just want to mention one more thing. We do Shir HaShirim. I want to say something else about the Afikoman. The Afikoman, get a piece of that Afikoman. Get a piece of that Afikoman if you can. Hold it, save it. This is excellent for people that are sick, excellent for people that are pregnant, a woman that's going through labor. Save that piece of Afikoman. I know every year, we eat some of it, and some of it I save it. And there's some time during the year when somebody's going through something, and you break off a piece and you let them eat it. I've said it many times before. I'll say it again. It has a big segula for easy childbirth. So one time my wife had a very difficult pregnancy, so right before she went to give birth, I gave her a piece of the Afikoman, so she could have a much easier time. So when it was all said and done, I asked her, so how was it? How was the giving birth? It was the hardest one ever. I was like this. It was the most painful one out of all of them. I go to, wow, imagine if you didn't eat daf fikoman. You know? You say it as a joke, but daf fikoman has a lot of big segulot. A lot of big segulot. I don't have enough time to say everything that I have here, but it's good for parnasah, it's good for health, it's good for pregnancy, it's good for a lot of things. One last thing, we say Shir HaShirim. Why do we say Shir HaShirim at the end of the Haggadah? It's a love story. It's a love story between a man and a woman. But in reality, beneath the surface, it's a love story between God and the Jewish people. And on this night, when there's no mezikin, and it has such a 50th level of Kedusha night, and we're speaking of all the greatness that Hashem did and all the miracles in Yetziat Mitzrayim, and we're just praising Hashem and praising Hashem and praising Hashem and praising Hashem. At the end, we talk about the love story about Hashem. Why? In order to make Hashem's heart flutter, to say, Hashem, maybe now is a good time for Geulah. Maybe Mashiach now. Maybe right now you can bring Mashiach. Maybe now it's a good time. Please, Hashem. It's like we arouse Hashem's heart with Shir HaShirim in order for Him to feel like He can bring the Mashiach sooner than later. It's another reason why we say Shir HaShirim. In conclusion, we spent some time just thinking about the greatness of the night. And we spent a little bit of time just discovering how things can be buried under the surface of the Haggadah, where there's the story of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah and the story of the four sons. But like I said, we could do this for the entire Haggadah, and you find there's many different things. But let's recap. Let's remember that the Haggadah night is Leil Shimurim, an incredible night. A lot of spiritual energy. It comes around once a year. Hashem is yearning to get us out of the Mitzrayim. So, get your Mitzrayim in a box. Bring it with you into the Seder night. Bring it with you. Before you come to the Seder night, actually, don't forget to do your personal chametz. We spoke about it, about the bi'ur of your chametz, the bi'ur of your personal chametz, and bring it to the Haggadah. Prepare the family for the Haggadah. We spoke about staying focused during the time of the Haggadah, how you want to have a perfect Seder, how you want to be completely in the zone, doing exactly what you want to do, and once it's done, move on. You want to have chidushim. We have some beautiful chidushim that we share tonight that you can use in the class, but look for your own. Sing some songs. Don't forget to insert a personal prayer. If there's a lull in the action, 5-10 minutes, you see that things are in between meals, in between clearing the table, take out that piece of paper and start to pray to Hashem. Hashem, here's my list of things that I would like things to happen for me, for my family, for my friends, for the Jewish nation, for Mashiach, for the world. Pray for other people too. Believe that you're in the 50th level of Kedusha. You have to understand that if you don't believe, don't do anything that I just told you. Part of all this being real and happening is you have to have the emunah. And we're ma'aminim, bnei ma'aminim. We're the believers, the son of believers. You have to believe. So believe that all this is possible. It's a big, big part of it happening. If you don't believe that you can get out of Mitzrayim, next year you're going to walk into Pesach still in Mitzrayim. Emunah is a big, big part of it. And there's no bigger example of emunah like the Jewish people following God into a desert. No trees, no food, no water. That's real emunah. What if I tell you right now, follow me to the Mojave Desert? Would you? So you're crazy. How are we going to survive? Yet a nation, millions of people did that with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So walk into the Haggadah with emunah. And believe that the Seder night can set order for your entire night. One last honorable mention for Shabbat HaGadol. That's this Shabbat. Shabbat HaGadol. Why do they call it the Shabbat HaGadol? In the history, it was the Shabbat right before the Jewish people went out of Egypt. The history of it is that because this is the Shabbat that has the power to have influence on all the Shabbatot of the year. So the way you keep this Shabbat has the power to give flavor or feel or kedusha to your all upcoming year. So remember how we said stay focused 4 hours for the Haggadah? A good practice is to stay focused this Shabbat 25 hours. So your whole year can have incredible Shabbatot. They say if we kept 2 Shabbatot, we'd have the Mashiach come. 2 Shabbatot in a row. The Chidush, they tell us if you kept 1 Shabbat HaGadol, the Mashiach would come. That's how big Shabbat HaGadol is. And all the regular Shabbatot are part of the lower heavens. Shabbat HaGadol is the only Shabbat that's part of the higher heavens. I don't know what that means, but it's huge. So don't forget about Shabbat HaGadol. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Chodesh Sameach, Chag Sameach, Shitu Libechem Lechela Pasego Meotan, Leman Tesapur Do Acharon.